Hey guys, I've returned to making regular videos. It's been, a while, hasn't it? So much has changed, and yet so little has changed at the same time. I'm still using the same awful backgrounds, after all. So let's change that, shall we? That's marginally better. At least it's animated, though it's cropped weirdly because Deltarune isn't natively widescreen, so it's still kinda bad. Anyway, in case you randomly had this video auto-played into your feed, we're going to be talking about Deltarune. Let me tell you, there's a lot of unused stuff in Deltarune. As somebody who's spent way too much time out of their life modding this game, there's a lot of crap. And a decent amount of it's stuff that's either undocumented or very scarcely discussed, which I find a tad odd in some instances. Did you know Toby started work on a Snowgrave Queen fight? Might as well just jump straight into the thick of it, but I didn't know about this until 4 years after Chapter 2's release. Kind of crazy for something that holds interesting implications for Toby's original plans for the Snowgrave route. It has been documented, of course, but it's something I see very scarcely discussed. Unfortunately, Toby didn't change much about the fight. There are no dialogue differences, for example. But it's something that Tricky Tony did absolutely plan around. He did make a custom attack to replace the ones that involve Birdly, like the one you're seeing now, and he also added specific checks to remove Queen's laughing sound effects when being attacked during Snowgrave, which reminds me a lot of similar serious mode changes from Undertale. This version of the fight also prevents you from using any acts other than check, which I'm like 90% sure is a goofy gaffe on Toby's part, and not an intentional change. Beyond that, though, the fight remains unchanged, as well as the cutscene following the battle. As much as a Snowgrave Queen fight would have been cool, or whatever, I definitely think Toby made the right call cutting Queen's fight from the route. It really helps foster the creepypasta vibe the route was going for in a way that even leaving the fight in, mostly unchanged, wouldn't be able to match. An epic Chris I remember your Snowgrave's fight with Queen would have been pretty hilarious though, and would have fed my ever-ravenous desire to see things put into the game for no other reason than cool, so I am going to send a very strongly worded email to Toby Fox later. Moving on to some other interesting stuff, Tenna has some unused minigame variants, including one that's entirely asterisk unique. Starting with the most boring stuff first, there are actually several unused Susizilla variants made for this fight. There's this statue variant. As well as 2 house variants. I imagine these were cut due to Susizilla ending up so peripheral in the final game compared to Toby's initial intention. There's also this unused chef variant that I find very humorous. I've seen the sprite of Tenna smiling without a nose floating around a lot, but I've never seen anybody actually show where it's used. It's used here. Then for the most interesting one, there is an entirely scrapped Tenna minigame that is based off of Shuta's act. I have seen this behavior documented, but never as a minigame, which is what it was intended for. I genuinely don't know why this minigame was scrapped. More reasons for me to send a strongly worded email to Tricky Tony, I suppose. As for something that's semi-interesting, there is one unused spell that I don't see talked about much, though admittedly there isn't much to say. Rude Sword seems like an early version of Rude Buster going off of the purple attack animation and the text claiming that it was Rude Buster. I imagine Toby just used this until he finished getting Rude Buster working. There are also the unused spells for the scrapped playable Jerson, but I hear those spells talked about constantly, so I won't contribute to that discussion. There are also a couple of unused acts I find interesting, like this one in the Spamton Neo fight that harkens back to Werewire and Queen acts in the final game. Not much work on it was done by Toby, and honestly I wish Toby had finished this since the Snap act in the final game is rather uninteractive. Perhaps Toby just wanted focus to be kept on the battle part of the Spamton fight? Regardless, this was cut, and all that remains in the base game is this skeleton. There's also this unused version of Susie's act, which is actually pretty interesting. I understand why Toby cut this one though, since not only was it kind of overpowered, but it also interacted strangely with some aspects of the fight, like destroying the phone hands in the phone hand attack, which is not intended. It also creates a weird disintegrating Susie head. I don't know why it does that. There's also a strange bit of unused code in the Tenna fight that I believe was meant to be Susie's act before Bet 20 was implemented. It was very much unfinished though, so this probably isn't 100% accurate to Toby's intention. Do you want to know who doesn't have unused acts though? Jerson is absolutely zero programming for any acts, for Susie or otherwise. I've heard the theory float around due to the amount of unused attacks Jerson has that it was originally meant to be a fight with all 3 party members. I personally find this unlikely since there is no evidence in the code that this fight was built to account for multiple party members, and things like Gerson's dodge ability breaks the moment your party has more than one character. That being said, I do think that there were more plans for the Jerson fight, as there are a lot of unique attacks and mechanics that went unimplemented in the final fight. As an example, this bell attack I discovered. Yes, I am only including this in the video because I was the first person to discover it that I know of. Obscure fact: a bunch of the code was copied over from Spamton Neo for some reason. If you couldn't tell by the minimalist graphics, I get the sneaking suspicion Toby didn't get very far on this attack before it got sent to the cutting room floor. On the topic of unused attacks, oftentimes there are unused difficulties to unused attacks that I don't see documented even when their other variants are. The most obvious example I can think of is an unused version of the unused Night Crescent attack with these wide and slow-moving crescents. Spamton, ever the gift that keeps on giving, also has unused variants for his regular and wall attacks that feature some neat scrapped mechanics. Something interesting about the Knight fight is that the Knight has an unused block mechanic. Essentially, if the Knight's damage reduction blocked 90% of your damage or more, they would perform this blocking animation. I presume Toby cut this because having that much damage reduction would be kind of crazy. Last but not least, something that could possibly be a holdover from Chapter 5. In the code that makes party members follow you, there was a case added that allows Lancer to follow you that was not in previous chapters. This goes entirely unused in Chapter 4, of course, so it could be possible that this was a holdover from Chapter 5 that got compiled into Chapter 4. Or, it could just be part of an entirely scrapped interaction in Chapter 4, who's to say? Welp, that was the most interesting unused stuff I've found in Deltarune that I can remember. There's probably other stuff I encountered, but I didn't write them down or anything. Anyway, if all you're here for is the unused content, feel free to click off now. If you're some kind of freak who's interested in me for some reason, then well, I just want to say how strange it is to be making this kind of video again. It's strange how much 2 years can change a person, especially since unlike those past Pizza Tower videos, I actually know what I'm doing now. I know that in 11 hours, or 11 years, I will be there to cover the next chapters of Deltarune. Beyond that, though, I'm not quite sure. Maybe you all could provide some ideas? Anyways, always remember to smash that dislike button, check if you're subscribed so you can unsubscribe, and have an amazing rest of your day. Never forget to keep moving forward.